These are for the commissioners.
We do them in the silence or?
No matter, whatever you want.
Good morning. Would we all please stand for an invocation provided by Commissioner Barr, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow in attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this privilege and opportunity to be here this morning. May we deliberate with a sense of integrity, and Lord, just give us guidance and direction into these matters that affect so many of our citizens. Lord, have mercy upon us. May we honor and glorify and serve you in all that we do and say. It's in your Son's name we pray.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call the Friday, December 29th, 2017 Washington County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. And with that, we'll go right into our public hearing. Next on the on the agenda is a public hearing concerning property tax prepayment. And the purpose of the hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure will be as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. And now I'd like to ask Mr. Hershey and Mr. Martirana to provide us all of the information for the public hearing, and you two decide who goes first.
I'll go first, if that's okay. Just to briefly... That's right. I'm ready to go.
Looking good.
That's right.
It means he's feeling better.
That's right. I'm feeling better. That's
Good for you.
Absolutely. Just to give you a little bit of background, what we have today and what the subject of this public hearing is an ordinance authorizing the prepayment of county real property tax in Washington County. This all arose earlier this week, I guess last week, but earlier this week, relating to the new tax bill that was passed at the federal level. A key provision of that bill modified a tax break, or the actual deduction relating to state and local property taxes, not just property but income taxes as well. But there was discussion about, and I think tax professionals were advising property owners to go ahead and prepay next year's taxes in the hopes that they could deduct it under the 2017 taxes. When Mr. Hershey started getting phone calls about this, there was a question about whether property owners in Washington County could prepay. So when we started researching that issue, in 10-205 of the tax property article, the county had enabling legislation to allow prepayment of taxes, but they would have to take, this board would have to take action by law to allow that. So that's how we started talking about it from a staff perspective, and when I researched it, we determined that a meeting needed to be held, a public hearing needed to be held, and then if the board decided to go ahead and allow prepayment of taxes, real property taxes, that an ordinance would have to be approved. So the ordinance is what the purpose of this public hearing is, to allow prepayment of taxes. Obviously, it gets a lot more complicated because we're talking about tax deductions and whether these prepayments would be appropriate deductions on people's taxes. The position that county staff and I think the county treasurer, and I'll let Todd speak to this, is we are not in a position to provide tax advice to individuals, and we've been referring them back to their tax professionals to answer that question. One thing that has changed since we scheduled this meeting is that the IRS did issue an advisory on December 27th relating to whether these prepayments would be tax deductible. I think the example was example 2 in the advisory, talking about relating specifically to Washington County, is if the payments would be, if you prepay in 2017 and the taxes were assessed in 2017, then it would be deductible. If not, then it appears they will not be deductible. So, and I'll defer to you, Todd, about when those taxes are assessed, but it's my understanding it's June or July. So there is a question, at least under the IRS advisory, whether any kind of prepayment in Washington County would be deductible.
Correct, John, if I can interrupt you. Yeah,
No, go ahead.
assessment does need to be certified. The date of finality has to be prior to December 31, on or before December 31 of 2017. In the state of Maryland, the code is clear that the assessment, the date of finality is January 1, and as you indicated, we do not receive those certifications for real estate property taxes until the first week in the month of June. So the date of finality is clear in the code. That is January 1, and then again, the ultimate certification does not occur until June, the first week in the month of June. So that's clearly after the December 31 date that was outlined in the IRS advisory note 2017-210.
Okay, so again, what's before you is an ordinance to allow prepayment of property taxes. And that would be, if the board would adopt that ordinance, that would allow property owners in Washington County to prepay their property taxes, not just now, but moving forward. Whether that turns out to be an actual deduction or an appropriate deduction is not something that the county would be involved in. That would be the individual property owner and the IRS to deal with that. I think Mr. Hove has passed out, it looks like an Excel spreadsheet relating to other counties. This has been an ongoing issue with all the counties this week. I think Montgomery County had a special meeting on Tuesday to allow prepayments. They did pass a bill to allow prepayments. Prince George's County had a meeting scheduled for yesterday. After the advisory note came out from the IRS, they canceled that meeting. I just saw something about 15 minutes ago that Talbot County actually had a special meeting yesterday and passed a bill that would allow for prepayments. So, and counties who have allowed prepayments previously, prior to today, are now dealing with issues about, now that the IRS advisory note has come out, now some people are showing up and asking for refunds. So that's another issue that the counties are dealing with on the other end. So there's a lot of things going on here, but from the public hearing perspective today, what you're considering and trying to decide is whether we will allow property owners in Washington County to prepay their property taxes. So that's what the purpose of the public hearing is.
If I could, Mr. Martirano, just one additional point, Commissioners, and speaking with Mr. Slocum, he is of the same opinion, is that if what we were doing is affording citizens, you're considering affording citizens the opportunity to pay their taxes for a potential tax benefit. If we don't pass this, we have the advisory opinion. So now some counties are saying, well, there's no sense in passing this. However, it's an advisory opinion. It is not a ruling. So out of abundance of caution, we're of the opinion that if we do pass this, and the IRS changes their opinion to a ruling which says this is tax deductible, and the commissioners don't allow for this ordinance and prepayment of taxes, some of our citizens wouldn't benefit from that deduction. So it's sort of out of an abundance of caution that we're considering this.
That's it.
So.
And just one other thing that it's in the draft ordinance if you looked at it, but I wanted you to know that there is a specific way, and it's actually in the annotated code, but I've actually put it in the ordinance about how you determine what that advance prepayment would be. It's basic last year, so it's basically whatever the current tax rate is times your assessed value of your property. If the advance payment is less than the county real property tax as finally determined in June or July when it's certified, the tax collector would send a bill for the difference. So if the prepayment is low, they will still be responsible for any additional taxes that are owed. Also, if an advance payment exceeds the county real property tax, then the taxpayer shall receive a refund. Normally, if you get a refund, there you'd have to file a claim, but under 14906 of the tax property article, if in this particular situation there would be a refund. So I just want you to know that if you prepay, you still have to, whatever you owe come June or July, you still have to pay. So I just wanted to lay that out.
Okay, yep. Yeah, you're right.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Barr.
Well, no, I think Terry has to open it to the public first.
Okay, right. This is just a staff presentation, and then you would open it up to.
Is there anything else to add to the presentation?
I don't, Commissioner. Again, this law was passed on December 24th. It was signed into law on December 24th. So it has been a scramble throughout the state of Maryland especially, but throughout the country. Maryland assessment and taxation procedures are consistent with Example B in the IRS advisory note, and so jurisdictions are struggling. And as Jim indicated, it's perhaps best to err on the side of caution and proceed with the opportunity to allow people to prepay the taxes.
Okay, we'll now open the hearing for public comment. We have anyone here today would care to testify? I do have it. Okay, just come forward, give us your name, address.
Eric Seifarth, Washington County's Rural Preservation Administrator. I work here in this building. I have had a few calls from farmers. As you know, we give property tax credits for land preservation every year. So the question comes up, how will this impact those credits? I've been in touch with Todd and the assessment office. Even though we have some logistical issues, we feel confident we could work them out if this is passed and they can benefit from a deduction. So I would speak in favor of the ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizens here today care to participate? Okay, now it's Commissioner's time. Turn, Mr. Barr.
A logistical question, I guess. If in the event we vote positive for this, typically there's a delay when it actually goes into effect. Would this go into effect immediately upon?
It would go into effect immediately.
Okay, and I guess I'm looking at our treasurer. Are you prepared? Because we're only talking till the end of a working day today to handle the influx of people running in, social media spreading this, maybe good news. Are you prepared for that down at the
I do
assessment
appreciate
office?
your concern, Commissioner Barr, regarding the staff at the Treasurer's Office. We believe we are have the capability to handle the activity here, and we will be accepting payments by mail, postmarked December 31st. So it's not absolutely necessary for people to visit the Treasurer's Office. They can, continue to try to analyze the information that they're getting as it comes in, and make this determination even as late as, postmark it tomorrow is fine. So as long as they're postmarked by December 31, we will accept those prepayments.
That's what I wanted to hear. Right. So next Wednesday or Thursday, as you're opening the mail, it's still a legitimate payment as long as it has the postmark on it.
That's correct.
Mr. Hershey, your close of business is at 4:30 today, correct?
Correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioners, myself and Mr. Hershey has talked this morning, and out of concern for customer service, if he should end up with the lines out the door into the street, what I'm prepared to do is arrange for some type of a service where we can maybe get them inside, get them some seating. I mentioned hot chocolate or coffee if need be, because we're just available to assist his office in any way we can to ensure the citizens are well cared for and have an opportunity to take advantage.
So, probably shouldn't even ask this, but so why wouldn't you accept the check that's predated before January 1st? Why does it have to be the postmark?
Yeah, we have to go by postmarks because we get that all the time, Commissioner Baker. People late in the mail.
Maybe we should ask that question.
January dated checks in April. So
No, I meant just for a day. I didn't mean.
yeah. Well, we will go by the postmark date, and also we will only be accepting these payments by way of check. Again, so that you can mail them. We can't take cash. We can't take credit or debit transactions. It has to be in the form of a check or money order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that I believe that what we're doing here, let's do it. None of us in this room are capable of deciphering what this, and I think any conversation we have regarding what the law is saying or what it can, we don't want to get ourselves in a bind with some citizen saying that we said that you can deduct and get into a battle there. So I think enough said on what is the law really meaning, because they can't change things. So I think we're on the air of caution, like Jim said. And then, you know, if you want to do it, fine. If it doesn't work out, we've done our job just to allow that opportunity to take place.
I guess there's two other things. I noticed one of the counties is offering a half a percent discount if it's prepaid by way of this Mako conversation yesterday. And also, I mean, do we want to put in our ordinance that if you pay it, there's no refund? I mean, you don't want somebody a week from now coming back saying they've made a mistake and they want their money back. So I'm not so sure that, for me, I wouldn't want, some description in there. Is it?
Can that be Mr. Hershey's decision?
That scenario is very much in the realm of possibility. I am inclined to think that a lot of people that have postmarked them yesterday and today will get word finally that the IRS is may be disallowing the deductibility of that, and so we will get requests. It's going to be difficult to handle. We have this setup where it's not going to obviously fall to revenue. This is going to fall into a liability account. So the big issue now is this refund that Commissioner Barr brought up. That's more complicated now than actually of accepting the prepayments. So our intent was to, as of after December 31st, sometime the first week in January, accumulate all these payments that have come in, and then at one time put them in the liability account where they will sit until June 30 and be dispersed and applied to all the accounts. In the meantime, we will get special situations, real estate property transfers, for instance, but also people realizing that they should probably not have made that prepayment and they want their check back. So,
Again, I think, not to interrupt you, but I think that other counties are struggling with that, and I know there was a conference call yesterday, which I sat in on part of. I know you were on it too, Todd. Most of the counties have decided not to give refunds.
not to issue, that's correct.
And I think that's the position that county government takes, not just our county, but I think counties across the state take. Once you pay, you pay, and the county is not obligated to give you a refund. And I think that's the position that most of the counties yesterday, or actually all the counties on the phone yesterday.
That's correct, and that is the position I would like to take.
And that's the position that the county takes on a regular basis. If you make a tax payment, you pay it and there's no refund. So I think that's the position. I think that's the
Treasurer's call then.
And I think that's a treasurer's
Very good.
position as well. So I think that's what it is. Again, just to reiterate, and we've all said it here today, the county's not making any representations as to whether this is a valid tax deduction or not. And I think that's what Commissioner Myers was saying. I think anyone who wants to prepay should either indicate on their check, or I don't know if you have anything that you need them to sign or fill out that says it's our intent to prepay our taxes. But again, the county is not making any representations whether it's valid deduction or not. So I think that's very clear, and that's a position we've taken all week, and we continue to take that position. So anyone who comes in to make a prepayment in your office, we should probably reiterate that in some fashion just to make sure that everybody understands that.
Okay, any other questions, comments, commissioners? Okay, the public hearing is now concluded. Last chance for commissioner comments. If none, need a motion to pass the ordinance as proposed.
I'll make a motion to pass the ordinance to allow citizens to prepay taxes as proposed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the ordinance. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Effective 9:30.
Happy New Year.
Commissioner,
Motion to adjourn.
Effective right now, Mr. Commissioner Baker's going to sign it. I've got it right here, so it's effective.
Very good.
Not yet.
Thank you for,
All right, Commissioner Baker's going to sign it right now.
Have a good weekend.
thank you for your guidance on this.
Commissioners, if I may, now that you've passed the ordinance, Lauren is probably, as we speak, hitting the button to send out the press release, a very informative press release telling our citizens where they can, how, when, and where they can go to pay their taxes. So we'll be standing by to assist our citizens in any way we can. Also, a lot of county departments were involved in this to make this happen in such short order. Anywhere from Budget and Finance, County Attorney's Office, so we all pulled together to make this happen. To support Mr. Hershey, so thanks to everyone.
There was a motion to adjourn over here.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Motion, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All it did-